Hi guys, and welcome to this week's video. We were supposed to be doing a competition vlog from Bicton Arena this week, but unfortunately the weather had other ideas, so we ended up withdrawing because the weather was really not very nice here, and it was supposed to be a bit drizzly up at Bicton, and then there was an accident on the A38, so they shut that. So we made the decision before we'd even got on the road to actually withdraw. I was also just test riding a different saddle, so I didn't want to get that sort of wet. We are just sort of having a little bit of a look at our saddle sort of setup at the moment, being that Bo is so much happier in his jump saddle and much more forward, and I find it easy to get the medium paces and get him perhaps a bit more uphill in that I think I am restricting him in our current dressage saddle. So we are just having a little bit of a look at that. But obviously it's a little bit like shoes, because it feels probably very different to him initially. It's how we're sort of going forward, whether it does make a difference or whether actually my current saddle is the best option. The one I'm using at the moment is, well, it's not a monoflap, so it hasn't got an external mounted block. It's got a Velcro block underneath which can be adjusted, and I find myself not swimming around, but it's just made me realise that actually perhaps part of the reason why Bo is a bit restricted is because I am bracing on the lovely great big blocks on my current dressage saddle, and actually that is where perhaps the restrictions getting through his shoulders. So it may be that the rider needs a bit more of a kick up the backside and to stop bracing on the saddle. But that's sort of something we're sort of looking at. I came away from the regionals that we did at Heartbreak feeling very flat, very low, because I felt that we did a nice test, and I just didn't feel that we perhaps got the percentage that we perhaps deserved. But I've had time to sort of think about that now, and I've looked at the test a couple more times, so I've read my sheet. And I think initially when I first looked at my sheet, I read everything very negatively. There was a lot of, particularly one judge's comments, quite, not quite, and I took all that very, very negatively. I completely appreciate that he's not everybody's cup of tea. We do struggle with sometimes producing that sort of uphill frame that they're looking for, but we do our best, and I love him to bits, and I certainly feel like I took the best horse there and definitely brought the best horse home in my eyes. Really, he was so easy to sort of handle, look after. He was such a good boy in the arena walk. He was a little bit sort of wary of the speakers, but once he sort of had a look at them and stood, listened to a bit of music, he really did sort of relax and settle. And considering how the tests would have been the same test, elementary 59, when we did it at the Winter Champs back in, was it last year, 23, and yeah, very different this time. Well, last time he couldn't cope with the speakers. To be fair to him, we hadn't had the best sort of run up to it. We'd had a car come through our fence, and then he'd ended up, because our fence was badly damaged, being stabled quite a bit. The weather was awful. And then when we went up there, we went into temporary stabling. The roof was flapping and he couldn't cope with that. Didn't have the best journey up there. This is all before we had Top Cat travelling with us. So by the time we sort of got in the arena and they literally rang the bell, and as soon as we got in there, he couldn't cope anymore. It was the last straw, really. So we sort of came down the centre line, and I think I ended up putting the handbrake on for the halt, because he was terrified actually, and I could just feel that he just was holding his breath and just panicked. But he did gain in confidence as the test went on. So the difference this time going there, obviously we had a bit more time to prep. We'd done the arena walk the night before. I didn't have the best warm-up again because I felt very intimidated in the warm-up. I didn't do enough sort of lateral work with him and supple him up enough probably. And we went into the test, but he did everything I asked, and he felt lovely and relaxed, which I was so pleased with, particularly when I came out of the test, because that was the most important thing for me. And he listened to everything I asked of him. He did everything I asked when I asked. So I was really, really, really pleased. But then to get our sort of percentage come through, I was quite disappointed. But that then took over because of that percentage, rather than actually sort of keep thinking the positives on how he went in comparison really to previous attempt. I just let the percentage sort of get in my head really, and it affected me the rest of the day. We did contemplate staying because it was hot, but then the sort of wind picked up a little bit, so there was a nice breeze. The stables were a little bit sort of stuffy. Sometimes that just can't be helped, in particular when it's really hot. And then we made the decision quite sort of late that actually it'd probably be better to travel on home. And I've got to be honest, I wanted to come home. I was really quite disappointed. But the more I look back on it, it was a silly reaction really. The whole sort of thing going forwards was to have it to be more enjoyable and have fun, and I let 3 judges and this one result really sort of affect that, so much so that when I came home I felt really, really sort of quite flat, and I really contemplated what I was going to do going forwards, particularly our sort of journey with British Dressage. My initial sort of things after I'd sort of give myself a little bit of time to sort of think about it was I was going to do pep plans and not do regionals at all. Pep plans obviously aimed more at amateurs, so I thought I'll do that, I'll go down that route. But then I thought I've quite enjoyed doing the winter regionals, which are held at Chard. I've got some good friends that also do it. It's a good social. So I am denied, and I thought, well, I actually don't really need to make that decision at the moment whether I go area festivals of the winter or regionals. What I do need to sort of get in mind is what we're going to aim at, trying to get qualifying points at which levels. So I've made a decision to stick elementary silver and get enough points obviously to qualify us for regionals, and hopefully a high enough percentage over 3 tests to also be eligible for the area festival. And then I'm gonna, whereas currently compete at medium bronze, I'm gonna step up to medium silver, because that will also allow, if I get enough qualifying points to do the regionals and then enough qualifying sheets to do area festivals, I can make a decision sort of around December which route I'm going to do, whether I'm going to do both levels at area festival or both levels at regionals, or the elementary at regionals and the medium at area festivals. I can't do both. You can't do regionals and area festivals at the same levels, so I will have to make a decision then, but I don't have to make it to then. So that gives me more time to see how our sort of music journey goes really, because we're back out to Chard on Tuesday for a run through of our elementary music and also our medium music, and hopefully try and get some points towards qualifying for winter regionals that would be, because they don't do pep plan music. It's all very confusing, very confusing. I keep having to check the rule book, but I think I've got it right in my head. But yeah, it does get a little, it probably sounds more complicated than it is. I'm probably making it sound complicated. So, and then we've got, at the end of the week, we have our area festival music at medium. So that's a good sort of, we'll have a warm-up competition hopefully, and get our head in the game for that, and make sure that I know exactly where I'm going, because even though I've helped with these floor plans, I still get lost. No hope really. If I can't even, when you can design it yourself, get it right. So we'll see how that goes. With the fact that Chard have the area festival music in the summer, and then they have the winter regionals with music in the winter, it does mean we can sort of concentrate on going to one venue and sort of really hopefully gain his confidence, because he'll be doing it at that venue. And then if we qualify for amazingly for the championships or anything like that, then hopefully he will have gained enough confidence that yes, music and speakers aren't something to be terrified of. But that's sort of what we've sort of got planned with going forward with dressage. And now I've sort of had time to reflect from our bit of a disappointing run. I'm sure we all probably have disappointing days, whether it be competing or just riding in general. It's very easy to really get stuck in the negative side of things, and I'm probably worst one for doing it. I do really need to sort of give myself a bit of a kick, and I'm very grateful for all the lovely comments that people put on my regionals video. It means an awful lot to me, and it really has helped as well. Sort of realise that yeah, I've got to be more positive and not just sort of look at the negative side. But at the time, that's easier said than done. But I've worked through it, and now I feel like I'm in a much better place and feeling much more positive. And we've also been, it was lovely to in the week sort of get out and just really go up in our field. It's desperate need for topping. My footage I've got isn't very good because I don't generally video myself too much when I'm riding. I do like to keep both hands on the reins. I something about being in an open field, I do sort of struggle sometimes a little bit with my confidence with that, but I'm thoroughly enjoying going up there with him and having a play in the field, and he loves it. And like I say, he is much more forward in his jump saddle, so that's the other sort of thing that sort of made me sort of think, oh actually is there something we need to address here? But I'll keep you updated on that as we go forward. And we've also been up and doing a bit of jumping, which we both enjoy. I got to learn not to interfere quite so much. Bo's very tolerant of me, bless him, because when I think I can see a stride, half the time I can't, and then I really get it wrong. But he gets me out of trouble every time, bless him, and he seems to be enjoying it. We're jumping up to about 65 centimetres now, and we've jumping spread as well, with the hope of having a go at the combine training series, which actually I think is held at Chard as well. So we're going to be going to Chard quite a bit. But obviously I need to really sort of work on our jumping a bit more. Hopefully I have a bit more time shortly to do that. And I need to have some lessons and do some more arena hires, and just really sort of try and push that a little bit more. I find it quite tricky sometimes when I set the fences up. They're less terrifying when you're on board. When I'm stood next to it, I'm like, ooh, that's a bit big, put that down a little bit. But I'm really enjoying doing that, and it's nice to do something different with him. He's also this week had a haircut. So I've clipped him out. I've ummed and ahed about it, and I ummed and ahed about it last year as well, and I never did do it last year. Bo can sometimes react to being clipped. I've tried different oils and things, and I actually sometimes think part of it is due to the blades and clipping in general, rather than actually the product or the oil. But this time he seems to have coped really well with it, and he's much happier. I'm really pleased with how his coat's looking. He has these lovely dapples that everybody comments on, and I was a bit like, oh, if I clip him out, what's that going to be like? But his dapples are still there. As you can see, he's looking good. I've also trimmed up his mane a little bit, because he did still look a little bit feral once I'd clipped him out, and he had a bit of a scraggly mane in places. It does grow very quick, so I have to keep on top of that. So we're all sort of ready for our area festivals. Hopefully that will be next week's video. Hopefully we won't have any more rain off from competitions. I haven't really looked at the forecasts, but I'm just keeping fingers crossed so that it'll be okay. But yeah, I am looking forward to going back out, and it's nice that we got a sort of day competition, sort of a warm up before the area festival as well. But that was a part of the reason for we were going to go to Bicton, was to get back out there, get back on the horse, so to speak, and but that didn't work out. But yeah, I am looking forward to it. I just gotta keep positive. Gotta keep positive and not let results take over, really. Because he's the best horse I've ever had, I think, definitely. Like I said in my last video, I'm not sure. I think there was one other Welshie there, actually, or Welsh cross, when I sort of looked back through. But yeah, he was definitely very different than a lot of them there, and there was some real pros there as well. Yeah, so I just got a bit intimidated, but it was a good experience, and I don't think it's done us any harm. It's made me sort of reevaluate things a little bit, but that doesn't do any harm. And I'm sort of pleased where we're headed. I'm really enjoying my training, and looking forward to doing more of that, particularly going forward to the winter. And hopefully we can start looking at the changes and see if we can get those under our belt. Whether we'll be ready for advanced media next year, I've got no sort of great expectations, really. That'd be fantastic if we are, but if it takes us a couple of years to get the changes, then it does. Do you know what I mean? It's all part of the journey. And I'm really sort of enjoying it, and I wouldn't want to do it with anyone else other than Bo. Bless him. So I better go and see how they're doing. And they stayed in last night because, like I say, the weather was horrible. I went to put them out. Well, I fed them in the outer part of our yard. I went off and did some. I got some washing out of the washing machine. Come back, and they put themselves back to bed in their individual stables, which was quite good, because sometimes Top Cat will sneak in Bo's, but that doesn't always go down so well. But no, they've gone back to bed, so I thought, well, if they want to stay in, they can stay in. So I better go and see if they want to go out for a little bit. So that's it for this week's video. Perhaps a little bit of a boring one for me, just waffling on, but I thought it was quite important to sort of touch base after a little bit of a disappointment run, and what we sort of got planned going forwards. And next week's video should hopefully be either our sort of warm-up competition or the area festival, which, yeah, all being positive, looking forward to going to. So until then, I hope everybody has a lovely weekend, and hopefully the weather will be better. I'll see you guys later. Bye.